to Winterfell, we pledge the faith of Greywater, hearth and heart and harvest we yield up to you, my lord. Our swords and spears and arrows are yours to command. Grant mercy to our weak, help to our helpless, and justice to all, and we shall never fail you. I swear it by earth and water. I swear it by bronze and iron. We swear it by ice and fire. Meera and Jojen Reed to Bran Stark. A Clash of Kings Chapter 21. Bran 3. House Reed of Greywater Watch is a noble house from Greywater Watch in the Neck, which is considered part of the North. They rule over the crannogmen, small men who live in the swamps and marshes of the Neck. According to some sources, House Reed's arms are a black lizard lion on grey-green. It is believed that House Reed descends from the First Men, much like most of the other northern houses. They swore fealty to House Stark, the Kings of Winter, thousands of years ago, and remain so still even after they became Wardens of the North under House Targaryen. Since the defeat of the Marsh Kings by the Starks, House Reed has served as the traditional leaders of the crannogmen of the Neck, but we do not know if they've always been in this leadership position. The seat of House Reed is Greywater Watch. The issue, however, is we don't know where this seat is within the Neck, for a very specific reason. We know Greywater Watch is roughly located in the eastern headwaters of the Green Fork, in the swamps of the Neck, southwest of Moat Cailin, but it's built upon a crannog, one of the man-made floating islands of the swamps, and it does not stay in the same place, making it impossible for ravens or even enemies to find it. According to Meera Reed, there is no maester there, nor any knights or master at arms, which is unlike most other castles in Westeros. But we must recall that the crannogmen are a very distinct people group, who, while First Men, have their own histories and traditions apart from that. It is believed that Eddard Stark, the Lord of Winterfell at the start of the books, knew how to contact the crannogmen, having sent his friend Howland Reed, the Lord of Greywater Watch, several letters over the years. Bran Stark also recalls that at least during his short lifetime, no crannogmen has ever visited Winterfell. The current Lord of Greywater Watch is Howland Reed, holding dominion over the crannogmen of the Neck. However, Howland's children with his wife, Janna, are Meera and Jojen, and he has a known close friendship with his liege lord Eddard Stark of Winterfell. Like most of his people, Howland is described as being a small man. Meera describes her father as having been brave, strong, and smart in his youth, growing up hunting, fishing, and climbing trees, and learning the magic of the crannogmen. A young Howland Reed was often seen wearing a shirt of bronze scales and wielding a three-pointed spear and leather shield. After reaching the age of majority, Howland Reed sought greater knowledge of the world beyond that of the bogs of the Neck, believing the experience he gained would better his people. He travelled south by paddling a small skin boat down the Green Fork of the Trident, slipping past the twins by night. Not an easy task given the watchful eyes of House Frey, whom are renowned for their toll. He journeyed to the legendary and mysterious Isle of Faces in search of the fabled Green Men, with some accounts suggesting he indeed found them. Howland remained on the island throughout that winter and learned much from his time there. In the year 281 AC, during what became known as the Year of the False Spring, Howland Reed left the Isle of Faces to attend the nearby Great Tourney at Harrenhal, hosted by Lord Walter Went, secretly on behalf of Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. Many now believe this great tourney was a guise by Rhaegar, who wanted to use the gathering of lords to call a great council to depose his father, King Aerys II, better known as the Mad King. That is, until the Mad King himself turned up unannounced, seen in public for the first time in years. While walking alone around the sprawling tourney grounds, Howland was assaulted by 3 squires, who were younger than him, but much larger. Lyanna Stark, the only daughter of Lord Rickard Stark, his liege lord, intervened, driving the squires away with a Tourney sword after recognizing that Howland was a vassal of her father. Lyanna then brought Howland to her tent, where she treated his injuries and introduced him to her brothers, Brandon, Eddard, and Benjen. She insisted that Howland attend the opening feast of the Tourney, and he accompanied the Stark siblings, wearing appropriated clothing found for him by Benjen. When the group recognized the squires who had attacked Howland, Benjen offered to find him a horse and armor so he might seek vengeance. But Howland declined the offer. Though angered by the assault, he feared disgracing himself, as he was not a knight. That night, Howland prayed to the old gods at the God's Eye and was given lodging in Eddard Stark's tent, with the two becoming fast friends. On the second day of jousting, a short mystery knight known as the Knight of the Laughing Tree entered the lists and challenged the three knights whose squires had shamelessly attacked the defenseless Howland. All three of them were defeated, and instead of demanding gold for their ransom, the mystery knight required one thing and one thing only: that they instructed their squires in proper conduct and honour. King Aerys II suspected the knight to be Jaime Lannister of his Kingsguard, but this was certainly not the case. Likely, the king's growing paranoia. Prince Rhaegar Targaryen and a group of other nobles attempted to uncover the knight's identity, but it was never revealed. While the stature of this knight led many to suspect Howland Reed, Howland admitted himself he did not have the skill best anyone in the lists, let alone three knights. There is, however, much evidence that suggests the mystery knight was in fact Lyanna Stark, and it's because of this she ended up meeting Rhaegar Targaryen. They had been 7 against 3, yet only 2 had lived to ride away: Eddard Stark himself and the little crannogman, Howland Reed. The Thoughts of Eddard Stark, A Game of Thrones, Chapter 39, Eddard 10. The abduction of Lyanna Stark by Prince Rhaegar after the tourney at Harrenhal ultimately led to the imprisonment and executions of her father and brother, Lord Rickard and Brandon, by King Aerys II. In the rebellion that became known as Robert's Rebellion that followed, Howland Reed joined the northern host, became the new Lord of Winterfell, Eddard Stark, closest and most loyal companion. Following the brutal sack of King's Landing towards the end of the war and the lifting of the siege of Storm's End, Howland accompanied Eddard and 5 other Northmen into the Red Mountains of Dawn in search of Lyanna. They found her at the Tower of Joy, the 7 Northmen engaging in combat, with 3 knights of the King's Guard guarding the tower. Only Howland Reed and Eddard Stark survived the encounter, a remarkable feat given the skill of the King's Guard, especially with the presence of the legendary Arthur Dayne. Years later, Eddard told his son, Bran, that Howland had saved his life during the fight by intervening against Sir Arthur Dayne, but we don't know how this happened, with even Howland refusing to talk about it, with the duel becoming legendary. After the battle, Eddard found Lyanna and remained with her until her death. Howland was among those who later discovered Eddard holding his sister's body in silence and grief, and it was he who gently took Lyanna's hand from Eddard's grasp. After returning north following Robert's Rebellion, Howland withdrew to the swamps of the Neck and has not left them since. What is not clear about this part of Howland's life is that it's unknown whether Howland became Lord of Greywater Watch before or after the events of Robert's Rebellion. After the arrest of Eddard Stark at the death of King Robert Baratheon for supposed treason, his son Robb Stark calls the Banners of the North to rescue his father from imprisonment in King's Landing. He sends word to Howland to have the crannogmen attack the Lannisters if they march up the causeway through the Neck, trying to attack the North directly. So while none of the crannogmen join the main northern host, they are the first line of defense for the north itself. This is a smart move by Robb, as the crannogmen would not be very effective in a traditional pitched battle in the south, and are better fighting in their natural environment, where they can use their guerrilla tactics to their most effectiveness. Howland learns that his son Jojen has had green dreams of a winged wolf bound in chains, and sends his children from Greywater Watch to Winterfell. Like most crannogmen, his daughter Meera Reed is said to be short and slender, with long brown hair, usually knotted behind her head, with piercing green eyes. She is known for her cheerful and lively disposition, which contrasts sharply with the more solemn nature of her younger brother Jojen. She is respectful towards others, and notably protective of those in her care. In combat, Meera favours the traditional weapons of the crannogmen, including a woven net, a long bronze knife, and a 3-pronged frog spear. She also carries a round leather shield and sometimes wears a rusted iron great helm. Meera is an accomplished hunter and fisher, particularly adept at the crannogmen's spearfishing, and was trained by her father, Howland, in the use of net and spear. She's agile, quick to react, highly alert in the wild. Her younger brother Jojen is described as being short and slim, with unusually deep green eyes. He wears green-coloured clothing, even his boots. The boy speaks softly and slowly, while Jojen is barely an adolescent when he arrives at Winterfell, but his gravity and mature personality makes him seem much older. He knows a number of arcane things that he gleans from his dreams, claiming to know the day of his own death. During his childhood, Jojen nearly died after contracting greywater fever. Whilst close to death, he experienced a dream in which he was visited by a 3-eyed crow. After recovering, Jojen began to display the gift of greensight, manifested through prophetic visions known as green dreams. One dream in particular featured the winged wolf bound with stone chains, while the 3-eyed crow attempted to set it free. When Jojen relays this vision to his father, Howland interprets the significance and sends Jojen and his sister Meera to Winterfell. Although Jojen experiences green dreams, he is not considered a green seer. He lacks the associated abilities of skin changing and does not possess the capacity to commune with weirwood trees. My brother has the green sight. He dreams things that haven't happened, but sometimes they do. There is no sometimes, Meera. Meera and Jojen Reed, A Clash of Kings, Chapter 28, Bran 4. Meera and Jojen arrive at Winterfell during the Harvest Feast, where they formally renew House Reed's vow of loyalty to House Stark, following the death of Lord Eddard and Robb Stark being named King in the North. They recite their oaths before his younger brother and heir, Bran Stark. That night, Bran dreams of the Reed siblings meeting his direwolf Summer and his younger brother Rickon's direwolf Shaggy Dog in the Winterfell Godswood. After the feast, while the other lords and knights depart, Meera and Jojen remain at Winterfell and become close friends to Bran. Several weeks later, they visit the Godswood together, where Meera demonstrates her skill in combat by entangling Summer with a net and frog spear. Although Bran insists the wolf won, Jojen points out the direwolf is trapped and unable to escape. Jojen describes his prophetic dreams, including one involving the winged wolf and 3-eyed crow living beyond the wall. He questions Bran about his own dreams, which angers him. Summer reacts aggressively towards Jojen and is soon joined by Shaggy Dog. Jojen, however, remains calm, stating that it is not the day of his death and escapes by climbing the weirwood tree. Although Maester Luwin dismisses Jojen's visions, Meera recounts one of Jojen's green dreams to Bran. When the events of it later confirm the dream's accuracy, Bran confides in Meera and Jojen about his own wolf dreams and encounters with this mysterious 3-eyed crow. Jojen tells him that he has foreseen the sea coming to Winterfell. While Meera believes the future can be changed, Jojen insists that his visions always come true, including one in which Bran and Rickon are seen dead at the feet of the man known as Reek, who is flaying their faces. Meera suggests killing Reek to prevent this outcome, but Jojen argues that she would fail and not be believed. After Winterfell is captured by the Ironborn, Meera, Jojen and the Stark children are taken hostage by Theon Greyjoy, who is now styling himself as the Prince of Winterfell. The group later stages an escape with the help of the wildling, Osha and Hodor, and hide in the crypts beneath Winterfell. Unable to locate them, Theon and Reek murder 2 miller's sons and present the flayed bodies as those of Bran and Rickon. While hiding in the crypts, Meera takes a sword from the tomb of Lord Rickard Stark for protection, given it was one of the few swords still in a usable condition, not having rusted away. When the group eventually emerges, they find Winterfell and its inhabitants slain. In the Godswood, the dying Maester Luwin advises that the children be separated to reduce the chance of capture. Orsha takes Rickon south, while Jojen and Meera assume responsibility for Bran. Following this decision, Meera, Jojen, Hodor and Bran travel north at Jojen's direction. The woods were full of frozen streams and cold black lakes, and Meera was a good fisher with her 3-pronged frog spear, as most men were with a hook and line. The Thoughts of Bran Stark, A Dance with Dragons Chapter 4, Bran 1. As the group travels north, Meera serves as their primary provider, hunting and gathering food by spearing fish and catching frogs, even if Bran is not too keen on the frogs. They make camp at a ruined site they call Tumbledown Tower, but Jojen insists they must continue onward. Although Meera initially hesitates, she ultimately defers to the decisions of Bran, acknowledging him as their prince. Bran decides that they will proceed north. During their journey, Bran frequently observes Meera fishing, admiring her speed and precision. As they move further north, food becomes increasingly hard to find, even for the skilled hunting of a direwolf like Summer. Jojen advises avoiding roads to prevent encounters with travellers who might spread tales of a giant and a crippled boy and a direwolf. When severe weather strikes in the northern mountains, Summer leads them to a cave where they encounter a member of House Liddell. The man shares his food and warns them the King's Road has grown more dangerous. By morning he's departed, leaving provisions behind for the group. During their travels, Bran tells the Reed siblings that he and Hodor enjoy stories about night. In response to this, Meera recounts the tale of the Night of the Laughing Tree to Bran. The group later reaches a ruined village in the New Gift, where the inn stands mostly collapsed. They seek the shelter from a storm at Queen's Crown, a holdfast rising from the middle of a lake. While there, they detect the presence of other men in the village, one of whom proves to be Bran's half-brother, Jon Snow, who's travelling with the wildlings. Using his walking abilities, Bran enters Summer and attacks the wildlings, pursuing Jon. The direwolf kills 3 attackers, but is wounded by an arrow to the shoulder. After the wildlings depart, the group waits until the following day to move on. Summer eventually returns. Meera removes the arrow from his shoulder and treats the wound. The group eventually arrives at the Night Fort, an abandoned Night's Watch castle, rumoured to be cursed, with it appearing in Jojen's green dreams. Meera climbs to the top of the wall to scout the far side, while the others explore the deserted buildings below. Though they are unable to determine how to cross the wall, they decide to sleep in the kitchen, which offers relative warmth and shelter. During the night, they hear footsteps and heavy breathing emerging from the kitchen. Meera captures the figure with her net and wounds him with a frog spear. By torchlight, she realizes the intruder is, in fact, Samwell Tarly at the Night's Watch. Gilly and her infant son are following him up the hidden stairway. With Sam explains that his group had been aided by Cold Hands, a pale man in the black of the Night's Watch, who had sent him to find Bran. Sam further explains they had passed beneath the wall through the Black Gate, an ancient passage that could only be opened by a sworn brother of the Night's Watch. With Sam's help, Meera, Jojen and Bran descend the stairway in the well and pass through the Black Gate, continuing their journey beyond the wall. Meera, Jojen, Bran, Hodor and Cold Hands travel beyond the wall in search of this 3-eyed crow, riding upon Cold Hands' great elk. The journey proves arduous, as the children struggle against the cold and the scarcity of food. At one point they take shelter in an abandoned wildling village, while Cold Hand departs to deal with an unseen threat. During this time, the group discusses Cold Hands' nature and concludes he's not truly alive. Meera remains weary and distrustful of him. Throughout the journey, Meera protects her increasingly weakened brother from the cold, though Jojen still insists it's not the day he is destined to die. When Cold Hands' elk collapses from exhaustion, he whispers a blessing in an unknown language and slits the animal's throat. He and Meera butcher the animal for food. Eventually, the group reaches the cave of the three-eyed crow, with Jojen barely able to walk by this point, Meera helping him ascend the hill towards the cave entrance. After carrying and dragging him, near the entrance a group of white ambush the party. Cold Hands engages them directly, while Meera uses her spear to keep attackers at bay. Bran walks into Hodor and uses the giant's strength to fight the whites, and Meera defends Hodor when one of the undead claws at him. Leaf, one of the last remaining children of the forest, intervenes and drives off the whites, allowing Hodor to carry Jojen and Meera to safety. Inside the cave, the group meets the remaining children of the forest and this three-eyed crow. They remain within the cave for several months. During this time, Bran begins his training as a greenseer under the three-eyed crow, who has identified himself as Brendan Rivers. Bran and Meera invent names for the children of the forest they encounter. Jojen sinks into a resigned depression, while Meera struggles to maintain morale and keep his spirits from failing. Bran believes that he may be falling in love with Meera, and he briefly considers entering Hodor's mind in order to comfort her. Meera later tells Bran that Jojen wishes to return home to Greywater Watch, and that he no longer resists the fate revealed by the Green Dreams, which he believes cannot be changed. She confesses that she had hoped finding the three-eyed crow would alter their situation, but now questions the purpose of their journey. After Bran consumes weirwood paste and communes with the heart tree of Winterfell for the first time, Hodor carries him back to the sleeping chamber within the cave, where Bran discovers that both Meera and Jojen are absent.